Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to DN. Today I wanted to talk about Gary Stevenson's recent documentary which aired on Channel 4 yesterday. Gary Stevenson, for anyone that doesn't know, is also known as Gary's Economics. So today I just wanted to talk through a bit of a reaction to the documentary and some of the implications of this. So for anyone who's not heard of or seen Gary before, I'm sure lots of you have, but Gary's essential theory is that the rich are getting richer, as we are probably aware, with their increase in wealth. Instead of buying new productive assets or building new productive assets rather, they simply buy existing assets from the rest of us. And what this leads to over time is an increase in concentration of wealth at the top of society. Why is this important for the rest of us? Because it pushes up the prices of these assets, particularly with things like housing. And what's really good from Gary is that he's bringing this to public light. This is really on the agenda now in terms of the massive wealth inequality in the country. Gary frames it as a problem in the UK, which I think is smart given that he is speaking to a UK audience. However, this is a problem that's happening in much of the Western world and actually much of the global world. Essentially, for me, what Gary is describing is what Karl Marx first theorized in terms of wealth being concentrated at the top of society. Karl Marx theorized that this would be the case before essentially the working class united in all nations to overthrow the ruling class. And we can see elements of this playing out in society today. Whether or not we actually do unite and come together to fight for our own interests is yet to be seen. But with people like Gary putting this front and center in the media, it can only be a good thing. And we've spoken before on this channel how there's kind of two options now really for society. Do we unite behind an idea of wealth taxation and redistribution to create a fairer economy, or are we going to fight amongst each other and essentially see our living standards fall consistently until they collapse? And Gary makes some really good points. In generations gone by, he speaks to his parents, for example. His dad was a postman. He worked there for 30 years. He could comfortably afford a house. He could afford a nice pension, cars, vacations. Okay, life wasn't super easy, but it was certainly more comfortable in many ways compared to today. And again, as we've spoken about on this channel, we've seen a massive increase in technology and wealth over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Technology is exponential. It's constantly be getting better. And it was once a belief and an expectation of previous generations that they would be better off than their parents, but that is no longer the case. The reason it's not the case is political. And that's what the elite have done. They have framed economics as non-political. Economics is innately political. It is inseparable. In fact, the subject of economics used to be called political economy. The two are intertwined. But what's happened is economics has been hijacked by an elite who have tried to make it mathematical, tried to piece it together into an exact science. Of course, it's not an exact science. It is a social science. It is always a social science. It will always be a social science, and it always has been a social science. And what does that mean? It means that if there is the democratic will, then we can reshape the economy. The economy is not set in stone. The rules of the economy have been set in stone for 40 or 50 years in our neoliberal framework. That is a framework that can be changed, which I think is the essence of Gary's whole argument. But the only way that that can change is if we're aware and if we demand collectively the change. And the thing is, for the working class now, this is in our interests. Even if you're being selfish, right? Even if you don't care for your neighbour particularly. It's in your selfish interest, if you're a working class or middle class person, to advocate for wealth taxation and for redistribution. But guys, let me know what you think. Have you watched the documentary from Gary? I'd be interested to know below your thoughts, ideas and opinions. Do comment below, and if you like the video, like, share and subscribe, guys. It does help out the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Peace.